What if history has been hiding the truth? Until now.
The cold steel of a Webley revolver feels impossibly heavy when you're waiting in the shadows. Your target is a few yards away, the man who killed your mentor. By December 1928, the streets of Lahore were humming with a specific kind of tension. The city was a pressure cooker, packed with frustrated citizens chafing under British rule. Bhagat Singh and Rajguru stood in a narrow alleyway, trading their peaceful picket signs for revolvers. They were seeking a blood debt for a fallen leader, convinced that only violence could answer the violence of the state. This impending attack was a calculated detonation, the inevitable result of peaceful protests being met with deadly police batons. To understand how we got to that alleyway, we have to look at the men in charge. The British administration was steadily tightening its grip on Indian institutions, and pushing back meant facing a rigid wall of colonial bureaucracy. A month earlier, a prominent leader named Lala Lajpat Rai led thousands in a silent march to protest this creeping control. In response, a local police superintendent named James A. Scott gave a single, brutal order: charge the crowd with heavy, lead-tipped sticks. The police didn't simply disperse the crowd. They actively surrounded Rai. He was struck repeatedly in the chest and head, suffering severe injuries that led to a fatal heart attack soon after. For decades, the older generation had relied on institutional petitions and passive resistance. Rai's death proved to a furious younger generation that asking nicely was getting them killed. They wanted the state to answer for murder. Enter Bhagat Singh and Shivaram Rajguru. They belonged to a splinter faction that looked at the broken peaceful movement and decided to change tactics. They were going to strike back, surgically. Their crosshairs were fixed firmly on one man, James A. Scott, the superintendent who had ordered the fatal charge against Rai. For days, the group staked out the district police headquarters. They tracked the comings and goings of the officers, trying to learn the daily rhythms of their target, so they could ambush him on his way out. When a British officer finally stepped through the gate on December 17th, the lookout gave the signal. But the man in the sights wasn't James Scott. It was a 21-year-old junior officer named John Saunders. The target was entirely wrong. It reveals how scrappy and chaotic this underground network really was. A handful of desperate young men operating with limited resources, turning a highly calculated execution into an accident of mistaken identity. Regardless of the mistake, the trap was set. Rajguru stood near the gate of the police station with his revolver hidden. Bhagat Singh covered him from across the street, while Jai Gopal managed the lookout. As Saunders kick-started his motorcycle to leave the compound, Gopal made the predetermined hand signal. He was confirming what he thought was James Scott. Rajguru didn't hesitate. He stepped out of the shadows, raised his pistol, and fired a single shot into Saunders, knocking him off the motorcycle. To ensure the job was done, Bhagat Singh sprinted over to the fallen officer. He fired several more rounds into Saunders at close range. Gunfire instantly drew the attention of the remaining officers inside. An intense foot chase broke out through the narrow, twisting alleyways of Lahore, but the assassins managed to outrun the colonial forces and melt into the crowds. They had killed the wrong man, but from a tactical standpoint, the ambush was devastatingly effective. They had spilled British blood in broad daylight, and the point of no return was firmly behind them. The news hit the British Empire like a physical blow. A junior officer had been gunned down right in front of police headquarters. The protective bubble of colonial authority, the idea that British officials were completely untouchable, had instantly popped. This sent a loud message across India. An active, armed resistance had announced itself, and it was willing to meet state violence with lethal force. The bill for that message eventually came due. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and their accomplices were later arrested for this and other actions, and they were ultimately hanged by the British state. But their executions only cemented their status as eternal martyrs for the cause. The Saunders assassination changed the calculus for British rule. For the first time, colonial administrators realized that state violence would no longer be met with silence, but with an escalating cycle of retaliation. It forces a difficult question. If you were watching peaceful marchers being beaten to death by the state, would you have had the iron resolve to step into that alleyway and pull the trigger? Let us know what you think down in the comments. For more stories exploring the darker, hidden mechanics of history, make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video. Thanks for watching.
This is AIMystDK Unknown, fact shorts and videos. Subscribe for more mysteries.